Hello everyone, my name is Aurelia and today I will present or share a bit about the cultural negotiation profile of Indonesia, and it's going to focus on Indonesian business culture and its influence on negotiation practices. Before we dive deeper into the negotiation discussion, let's first get to know Indonesia. Indonesia is an archipelago, meaning it consists of many islands, from the west to the east. In fact, it has 38 provinces and 7 main islands. They are Sumatra, Java, Kalimantan, Bali, Sulawesi, Maluku, and Papua. The capital city of Indonesia is Jakarta, and it is located on the island of Java. As you know, Indonesia is extremely diverse. Java is the most populous and most developed island, plays a major role in shaping the national culture. And across the country, there are more than 1,300 ethnic groups and around 718 local languages. There are so many. And because of this diversity, Indonesia has developed a unique and complex business culture, and it's influenced by many traditions and values. Now let's talk about Indonesian business culture. There are six main points I will try to point out. The first is it is relationship oriented. A study by Moko Ginta and Arafa in 2022 shows various examples of negotiation, and one of which points out the negotiation between friends. The other is selling a car, and the other wants to buy the car with the price for a friend, which means it's gonna be cheaper than the offered price or the original price. And they ended up with a good deal, which is a win win solution. Second, there is a strong use of intermediaries, or in Bahasa Indonesia, we call perantara. Perantara will help facilitate introductions and negotiations. Third, Indonesians often use indirect communication. Means Indonesians rarely say things directly, especially when they are trying to express disagreement. Fourth, Indonesian business culture is heavily influenced by Javanese values such as harmony, respect, and avoiding conflict. As Mokoginta and Arafah state, Indonesian culture is highly oriented towards power distance, so that the role relations will be important in Indonesian negotiation. Gray in 2025 also points out how Javanese values highly affected the way Indonesians run their business negotiation. Fifth, Indonesians tend to respect taboos. Some of the taboos will be explained in the next few slides. And last but not least, Indonesians are really mindful of time and process, meaning the negotiations might take longer and it should not be rushed. Now we're going to talk about the advice and recommendations. Here are the things that you should do or think about when doing the negotiation in Indonesia. First, we have to build relations. Be kind, friendly, respectful, and build communication by doing a bit of basa-basi or chit chat in the beginning will not hurt. And you can do that in the middle of the process of negotiation. Building trust between the parties is also important. The better the communication starts, the better the outcomes of the negotiations. You also want to consider using perantara or intermediaries. They help you because, quoting Gray and colleagues in 2025, perantara serve not only as facilitators but as trusted negotiators who are deeply embedded in the local social and political fabric. A reliable perantara also helps to build credibility and helps to overcome conflicts if they occur. Using engaging but polite communication is one of the powerful tools in negotiating with Indonesian business actors. Indonesians respect harmony and politeness, and most of the time they avoid conflicts. A rising conflict is possible, but the chance is close to zero. And lastly, please keep in mind Japanese culture influence. Since Java is the most populous island with the most developed in many aspects, keep in mind that its culture of hierarchy also applies in the negotiation process. We might have to pay more respect to the status, age, and position. Senior leaders also play important roles in determining the outcomes. Next, in contrast, there are also some things you'd better not do, or you have to keep this in mind. First, never ever say no right away. If you can think of a better way to reject or disagree, find words or sentences or phrases that won't hurt the other party. Next, you have to remember the taboos. Indonesian elderly people love to remind their next generation about the taboos. So, if you want to build a better communication in the process of negotiating, you might want to do a little research about the taboos. You can search on Google, you can search on AI or whatever tools you have. For example, wearing revealing clothes, discussing religious topics, disrespecting elders, or as simple as whistling and the left hand rule. Lastly, do not rush the negotiation process. Indonesians, when it comes to the talking about business, they will take it seriously. That is why we should expect a slow negotiation process. If we rush, it would be considered as disrespect. Especially remembering that Indonesia is a developing country and they are trying to build their business. Just remember everything takes process. Now I will try to explain the negotiation plan starting with the stage of differentiation. At this stage, the focus should be on building relationships. Try to build relationships before business and use intermediaries or parantara if available. Engaging in an informal conversation could help to build trust and reliance. Gray in 2025 with his colleagues state that Indonesians value relationships more than task completion. Being direct right away, rushing into deals, and avoiding small talk could be considered disrespectful. It is also very important to respect hierarchy and roles since it is one of the keys to a successful negotiation in terms of the Indonesian business culture. Quoting Gray, in a negotiation context, this would suggest that Indonesians would place a greater emphasis upon role relations in a negotiation relationship, such as the buyer seller roles. Now we are moving to the exploration stage. Communicate indirectly and observe. You have to look carefully for subtle cues, reactions, or body languages or gestures. Indonesians really pay attention to how they react to things said by the other party, and most of the time they are really careful with the expression on their faces. In this stage, you also need to keep the interactions polite and avoid confrontations. We are aiming for harmony in negotiating here. Next, we have to be flexible, patient, and expect the delays since rushing to the deal shows disrespect, never shows impatience, as the process is what matters here. Now we have finally made it to the exchange stage. The goal here is to achieve a win win outcome rather than competing against the other party, as Grace suggests. Remember that concessions should be made gradually and respectfully, and most importantly, ensure that both parties feel respected, as maintaining harmony is a key priority in Indonesian culture. Respect plays a big role in negotiating with Indonesians, especially in business. And to conclude, successful negotiation in Indonesia requires patience, cultural awareness, and strong relationship building skills. Understanding indirect communication, respecting hierarchy, and focusing on mutual benefit are essential. So that's all. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.